So welcome everybody. Today is September 12th. This is the office hours. My name is Alex Manriquez, and I am a data analyst at CISA supporting CALPADS. And driving for us today is going to be Gary Gerber.
That's right.
One of our announcements today is that our ticketing system is down, unfortunately. So your tickets are safe and they're in the queue. It's just we can't get to them. So don't feel like you need to keep submitting tickets. We're going to get the tickets eventually. It's just right now we can't see the tickets, and so that's why we haven't been responding. And as you all probably know, the deadline for end of year is this Friday, September 16th. End of year 3 and end of year 4 require SELPA approval. So keep that in mind, folks. Martha, Angela, or CDE people have any announcements?
I have some. Oh, go ahead, Martha.
No, I was going to say nothing for me.
Oh,
all yours, Angela.
Okay. Just the list of stuff that's coming tomorrow. This is the last release before the deadline. And so trying to squeeze all those big ticket items in there. So there's a lot on the list I wanted to highlight for you. Yellow is reports and blue is certification errors or CBDs that prevent certification. So I'll leave that up for a minute, and just to expand on what Alex was saying about the service desk, it's really, really unfortunate. It's all weeks for it to not be working right now. In past, I don't know, 4 to 5 weeks, we've been having a really hard time keeping up with tickets in the first place. And so we're starting out on our back foot today because there's 400 tickets in the queue that we can't get to. So I'd say unless it's real important to get EOI certified, maybe refrain from holding tickets till we can dig ourselves out of that hole, and hopefully that'll just take us a few days.
All right, so we'll get started. And our school staff have entered discipline when the student's home district has suspended them and it overlaps with court community stay. With disposition 300, no action. So our discipline report showed discipline that wasn't ours. Please tell me that we don't need to do that. Correct. If the incident didn't happen at your LEA, then you wouldn't
can't report it, right? Mm-hmm. They may be. It sounded though like they're fulfilling their suspension at your district or at the court and community. Yeah, you don't report the incident because it didn't happen with you.
Mm-hmm. Jessica from Hemet. Syria, question 1. Can you please provide a directive for known issue 6327? 6327.
I can just speak to that one, Alex. That one's an evolving situation. So that was Cert 67, where you're missing your ELAS record for the 21-22 school year. That particular item turned out to be a really super rare scenario that a DBA had to fix on the back end. So essentially a data request, not a bug. But what we're finding over the weekend, we were working on some, and what was happening is other LEAs that had previously had the students and have them again for 2022 are resending their SELA file with the 2022 ELAS start date for their English only students, basically wiping out that history. And so it looks like they didn't ever have this ELAS record until now. So there's a IVR that's supposed to prevent that. SELA 283, I believe is the number. So apparently that's not working. I'm chasing that down right now. So it's not on the known issues yet. One of the districts that did that was a very large LEA, and so they were fixing that today. So hopefully that'll take care of most of you. If not, I don't know, Martha, do we reach out to individual LEAs that are causing that problem and have them resend their SELA file with the old historic date?
I think it's like almost a case-by-case basis, right, Angela? I mean, if we can find LEAs that did a mass update like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The service desk is able to fix that for the English-only students. We can change that date back to their original EO start date. But it has to happen on an individual basis, which, we're already backed up. So that's not a great solution either. So we're in a rough spot. And like I said, it's a kind of an evolving situation. If you only have 1 or 2, go ahead and SPED a ticket and we'll try to fix it for you. And if anybody has any that aren't English learners and you're seeing that and you thought you had already reported their ELAS record last year, let us know in the chat and we'll see if we can look into that a little further.
And Siri, I see your question too, and we're circling back for that. We're going to move on to Elsa's question 1. Says, was the reminder to review grad data sent to everyone? The line has my boss really worried. And says the CDE determined that there may be missing or incorrect graduation data and or A through G completion.
Right, but we did repeat that in the flash, just to remind people to look at the cohort data. So it wasn't targeted. There were some targeted emails, I believe, that went out when folks looked at the compared it to last year. If the data looked funny, I think a targeted email was sent.
And that's when she was questioning Paula, the one about the A through G completion. So there was some analysis comparing last year's A through G to this year's, and
Right.
certain LEAs.
I'm just saying that the flash also said there was a reminder to do this. I didn't know if she was talking about the flash or the targeted messages.
So Elsa, the thing that I would have you check is just look at your 15.1 and just confirm that those numbers are accurate. Sometimes we do have fluctuations, right, between one year to another. So just make sure that your data for this year, for the 21-22 cohort, are what you're expecting it to be.
But that particular column in particular, right? And on 15.1, it's not a column, so you have to filter to find those kids. But on 15.2, it is an actual column.
I also just want to mention on the 15.1 and 2, when you bring it up, it's going to come up in 22-23 years. So make sure and set the filter back. So I had a couple tickets. Folks didn't think they were getting data, but they were not looking at the right year.
Good point. All right, Vonda says, I am having an issue with adding new users to CALPADS. When assigning the LEA, the school section is blank. Anyone else having this issue?
That is the expected behavior. If you choose LEA as the org type, all schools are just automatically included, so they're not listed. If you choose school as the org type, then you'll have a list of individual schools to choose from, although I don't recommend that. That account type can be funky, especially if you try to do a combination of both LEA and schools. Definitely don't do that. If you do choose schools, just make sure that you don't have an LEA org type in addition to the school's org type.
When reporting staff, what is the correct assignment for a special ed behavior specialist?
So for a behavior specialist, it really depends on whether or not they are instructing students. So this may actually fall into our brand new non-classroom based or support assignment code for the 22-23 year, which is special education case manager. So it may fall into that new non-classroom based code for those of you. And I'm not sure that we have the 22-23 documentation posted yet. No. Ooh, okay. So we might have a new one. Now, if they're instructing students, then it doesn't seem to me, though, that behavior specialists they're probably a non-classroom based or support assignment. So I would look within the existing codes in the non-classroom based or support assignment codes, because they're providing more of a service than instruction. Look within those, select one of those, and then if the case manager fits better, then just wait until we get the 22-23 documentation posted and you can use that code.
So Brandy, these aren't pupil services?
No, this is, I mean, you definitely have to have some sort of education specialist credential probably to provide that sort of SPED service. You wouldn't have a pupil personnel services credential.
Okay.
But I believe in our non-classroom based or support assignments, most of the SPED assignments, and I may actually be able to be assigned to job classification, the teacher job classifications, or potentially pupil personnel services, which is 10, I believe, in the valid code combos. I'm not exactly sure. So I just have to know exactly what that person does. And if you want to just send me their duty statement in an email, You can send it through the service desk if you want with my name on it, and I'm happy to take a look at it, make some recommendations.
So we're gonna go back down 301. Susan says, some of my SPRG files did not post correctly. I'm trying to reload them and I'm getting a gurfi error. Is this because I've already exited the students? Shouldn't need to have an open enrollment, right? As long as it's
Right.
overlapping.
Yeah, it could be that they're no longer overlapping. It's hard to
It's-
say.
Or
It's most likely the academic year. I've seen if you're trying to update last year's programs or the 21-22 academic year, you're submitting the file now. By default, the academic year may be 22-23. So just look at the rejected record, verify that the academic year corresponds with the dates that you're submitting in the program.
also, if you have a blanket exit date, which is in the 630s, but the student left before that, then you have a GUR5 too.
Oh, right. If the SPRG exit is after the student's enrollment exit.
Yes.
All right, Joan from Sacramento City, question 1. What is the timeline for getting the SSID matching tool to produce accurate candidate results for all students?
I have some really good news,
Yay.
which I think is good news. So part of the problem with the SSID matching tool before was that the results were being fed back to you with the match percentage score in ascending order rather than descending order, meaning the highest score sometimes wasn't actually showing up on that match results because our match results were limited to, I think, 20 total results per kid. So that problem has been fixed. It's already in production. So if you actually try to retrieve match results from the SSID matching tool, you'll see now that your highest percentage matches are at the very top. Also next week, we're planning to implement an additional change in that a lot of the lower percentage matches, anything below 80% will no longer produce a match. And so we're still working out some of the business rules on that. But if you have matches less than 80%, they will not appear on that match result. What I would urge you to do is if you have SSIDs to obtain and you're looking to see whether or not those students have existing matches, that code is already in production to change the match order and see how it works for you now.
All right, Mika, question 1 from Union School District. After uploading the monthly STAS files to the ISAC reporting system, will I receive any confirmation indicating the submission is complete? Can I assume I am done? Do I need to do anything else?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, this is Paula, that you're done. I don't think there's any confirmation because if you wanted to resubmit, say, one of the months, you can. It will just override what's there. So that's why we don't really know if you're done. So as long as you have something for each of those months and you're happy with it, you're good. We'll just pull that data at the end of the month.
And we're meeting with all of your county office leads tomorrow, and we will be giving them a report of all of the LEAs and independently reporting charters within each county office that have submitted the files. So each LEA should have 10 files posted, one for each month, August through May. And so it'll give them an idea of how many districts within the county still have left to submit the ISAC data.
Question 1 from Ed DeWitt at Fresno. Does cohort UC A through G come from EOI 3 or the ODS extract on September 16th? So that field is collected with your SCNR, and it's whatever is posted in CALPADS as of September 16th, that's what's going to be pulled for your cohort. And the 15.2 report, which is where you see your UC CSU, that's where it's pulling from. It's pulling from that SCNR file.
And I think maybe part of the question stems from the last flash that said something about in order to for you to have graduation rate on the dashboard, not only do we pull the cohort, the ODS data for the cohort on certification day, but we also need end of year 3 to be certified. And the reason for that is because end of year 3 basically says that you exited everyone from 21, 22 and so forth. So it's kind of like a combination. They use in their
Cumulative
minds,
enrollment, right?
yeah, but in their minds, they're basically needing end of year 3 to be certified along with the cohort data, which includes more than 1 year of data, right? But they need both of those things in order to produce a graduation rate indicator.
But I think here may be another twist that Ed is thinking about. EOY 3 has report 1.22, which is the graduate report, right? The 1 year, and that has also UCCSU in there. So we do have that data as a snapshot, and we also have the data in the ODS for the cohort.
Right, and I believe that the cohort data is what they use for that piece of information. I mean, the two ought to be consistent. But when I asked the question, when that little piece of information was added to the flash, the response is mostly they need end of year to be certified because they need all the students exited for the 21-22 school year.
All right, Susan, I see your question 2. We'll circle back. Tara from Davis Joint, question 1. Would like someone to look at ticket 267855 as it is holding me up from certifying data when it is back up and running, LOL.
We can get to the historic tickets, Tara, so just not anything that's come in since early this morning. So I did find yours. It is linked to a problem ticket that is going into production tomorrow at noon. And so you'll just need to wait for a new revision, and hopefully all will be well by sometime on Wednesday.
Yvette from Madera Mariposa. I can't read it the other way. What happens if an LEA is not able to obtain self-approval for end of year 4? It's not certified. There will be 0 counts, right, for all of your special ed.
Correct.
Linda from Fresno. CALPADS sent a reminder to review graduation and completer data by September 16th email to determine that there may be missing or incorrect graduation data and or A3G completion data for your LEA. Is there a specific list of students with SSID examples for our LEA, Fresno Unified? I don't think that we can provide specific SSIDs, right? Because it's just a comparison of aggregate counts between last year and this year.
Correct.
And we're just seeing a discrepancy. So it's kind of like FYI, double check your counts, make sure that that's correct for this year.
It tends to be an attribute of your graduates that gets overlooked sometimes because it's on the 15.1, it's not readily visible. It's not until you drill down that you see that. And some people just don't sort on it just to see, gee, how many kids did I have that met the UCCSU? So we just want people as a reminder.
Martha, did you get the spreadsheet that showed this? So they also looked at counts overall, number of graduates, and they looked at a few other things. It wasn't just the A to G. If there was a weird trend there, it was some other areas also. So I don't know, maybe it's helpful for Fresno if we provided them that little piece of the spreadsheet that showed what was different for them from 1 year to the next.
Linda, if you put in a ticket and say attention Alex, I have that comparison, so I can give you the counts that are discrepant. Shelly from Hacienda La Puente, question 1. There was a student that was enrolled in my LEA in error. He had already completed his 4th year of high school when he enrolled here by giving false information. He was disenrolled after a month with us. They believe the student enrolled in another LEA last year under a completely different name and date of birth as a junior. It looks like he is still enrolled with the other LEA. My school is asking me to remove him from CALPADS so he doesn't get counted against them as a dropout. Is it okay to delete his record? I know this is a lot, so I will put in a ticket if needed. Who can I ask to assign it to?
You can assign it to me if you want to. I know you guys are overloaded, so if you want to pass it on to me, that's fine. I'll take a look at it.
Thanks, Brandy.
Okay.
Ethan, question 1. Seeking an update on what we should do regarding certification of end of year 2 when program counts are inaccurate on the aggregate report. Can you assure us that the numbers in the detailed supporting reports, the ODS, will become the official certified program counts for the LEA rather than the inaccurate numbers in the aggregate report? That's
We are fixing the EOI2 reports on tomorrow's release. So even I would say, let's see what the results are on the reports. Your results are gonna come from Snapshot. They're not gonna come from the ODS. And I can't guarantee ODS reports are producing accurate results.
Mika, I see your question too and wrote it down. Carol, question 1. Is there a trick for getting ODS reports to load? I've been trying all afternoon to get ODS report 8.1 to load so I can download and it is just spinning. I've been over an hour this attempt. Thanks. Depends on how large your district is. Some workarounds we found work is that you select only a few of your schools and try running it separate times. You have to run it separate times, but at least you get data to render. I was thinking about the supporting report extracts. I think 8.1 is one of them, but it's snapshot, right? It's not, I think it's as of fall 1 or end of year 3.
Yeah, we have both flavors, fall 1 and end of year 3. If you're looking for your snapshot 8.1 to quickly download that, it's under extracts, supporting report extracts.
Mm-hmm. So hopefully one of those gives you what you need, Carol. Oh, and Gary's showing us there how you can get to the supporting report extracts. Yadira, Eastside Union, question 1. Any suggestions will be greatly appreciated. I have a student who has a homeless program, but I am unable to select the correct dwelling type. Student is living in an apartment that was provided to the family from a homeless program. So which dwelling type can I use? Or does that take them out of the homeless program?
It depends on whether or not it was temporary. Right? They may have been provided an apartment, but if it's temporary, meaning they're not going to be able to stay there, then I would use, temporary dwelling. Temporary shelter is actually the terminology.
Brandy, did we have a question similar to this that you were going to check with the program office about it?
Actually, I checked, but then the response was related to a question that Brandy had sent regarding refugees. So we haven't kind of circled back to make sure she understood this is kind of a different question. So I didn't get a clear response, bottom line.
Okay. Thanks, Paula, for trying.
I think, the gist of it is Leanne Wheeler is our homeless programs consultant here at CDE, and she basically said, homeless determination depends on the access to a fixed and regular nighttime residence, right? And so if this particular apartment is, a permanent situation, then, would they even be considered homeless anymore? However, if it's a temporary shelter that's been provided to that family, it seems more appropriate to use temporary shelter. But if you want us to get confirmation on that, you can send in a ticket and we can direct it to Leanne.
So Brandy, is the definition though of a temporary shelter something that doesn't sound like an apartment? Because I know there's not a code for this situation specifically.
Looking. I don't know.
Individual members that this should not be used for children
temporary shelters.
I think that works, that definition. Don't you think?
It does work.
Yeah, so you should use that.
Use temporary shelters, 100.
All right. And then Laura is saying more on her question 1 on that special ed behavioral therapist says it is not an RSP teacher, a non-classroom assignment.
Yeah, so I would look through the existing special education codes that are in the non-classroom based or support assignments. Some of them are specific to staff serving students with disabilities. So, trying to look here. Yeah, and I would just say, just send in a ticket with my name on it, and we can kind of go over some options, because I'm just in this short amount of time, I'm not seeing anything that just like jumps out.
Claudia, question 1. What are the implications of not administering the initial LPAC by the 30-day deadline? And will they be enforced this year given the problems with CALPADS? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Brandy, I thought that I saw a response from Tracy on this, that it needs just to be, that you need to just document it as to why.
Did she respond to the ticket that I sent?
What was that?
I haven't seen that response from her yet.
Okay, I'll try to look for it.
Okay.
We'll circle back to that one. Natasha's talking with Laura. Soraya is saying, yes, that's what happened to us. Sabrina, question 1. Status of issue 6305, end of year 1, 3.15, including completers.
And tomorrow's release.
Awesome. And Soraya is saying, yes, the large district wiped out students at SILA records. Kim, Gavin, is there a window at night when CALPADS isn't online? I need to use my nights or very early mornings to work because reports are not running quickly. Are we still at 11?
I posted the hours of operation down below.
Thank you.
It's 10 o'clock.
10.
And what time it comes up?
The ODS and reports and extracts aren't available until after 8, but the rest of the system does come up at 6.
Okay.
Yan, question 1. Will we have regional CALPADS informational meetings again this year? If yes, do you have tentative or firm dates for those trainings yet? Great question.
Yes. Yeah, we do. The registration links are going to be sent out in October, but yeah, we do have, we're going to be giving them out to your County Office of Education liaisons tomorrow in the County Office User Group. But I can just tell you off the top of my, not off the top of my head, I'm going to read the slide, sorry. November 1st and 2nd, January 3rd and 4th, March 7th and 8th, and May 2nd and 3rd, and I'll post that in the chat.
Awesome. All right, Carolyn from Las Virgenes, Christian 1. I'm sorry, I have to leave to host a training, but I have 5 EO students from LAUSD whose date was changed from August 2014 to August 2022. I've reached to LAUSD, but you said to mention it in the chat. Have a nice day.
I think I didn't call them out earlier, but that they were the large LEA, and they are making that correction today. So don't need a ticket if it's LA Unified that has the 2022 enrollment and has overwritten their old ELAS data. They are working on that today. So no ticket needed.
Oh, okay. I got one of those too. So that's good to know.
Yeah, we worked with Walter over the weekend, and so they're making those corrections today.
Perfect.
Lori, question 1. Regarding the duplicate CRSC, SCSC issues, I did not see the fix for that in the list shown at the beginning. Do we think that fix is going out tomorrow? Do I need to have these corrected in order to certify end of year 1? I do have an open ticket related to this, but I'm running out of time to delete and resend my data.
Gary, I don't have a handle on that one. I think you were working on that one. Do you know what is the overall symptom of it? Did the reports get duplicated?
The courses were showing as duplicated when I wrote up the defect, and when you upload the file, it was it's supposed to be full replacement, and it was creating duplicates instead of just overriding them. But according to the developers, they're not able to repeat it anymore, so they're closing that out as not a defect. And I did test again by uploading the file, and it did overwrite and replace it, so there was no more duplicates. as long as there's a seed number. If the seed number is using the wildcard, the 999s, that was still showing up as a duplicate, but I couldn't convince the developer if that was a problem or not. I didn't have a chance to check the reports to see if that's getting duplicated on the reports or not. I don't think it's going to be an issue if the 999s are duplicated. I don't think it's showing up twice on the reports. It's just when you look up the courses. But there's no fix because they can't reproduce the problem.
So if Lori were to re-upload her course and section files, you think it would clear them out?
It worked for me in my test data. And according, yeah.
She's one that it takes a really long time. San Diego, I want to say Lori told me it was 12 hours for the student course section to post.
Maybe try one school site at a time just to see.
Or double check your reports now to see if you're getting duplicates in the reports. Because if not, then maybe
it might not be an issue. It's just showing up in the UI, but not on the reports as duplicated.
Kevin, I've written down your question too. Rocio, error 6327. 4 students with the error. All 4 students are EOs. The new LEA uploaded a 22-23 date. Should I add an EO record with my LEA's enrollment date or submit a ticket?
So it probably won't let you add a new EO record. I imagine you're going to get a validation error. If it's LA Unified, do nothing. They will take care of it. If it's not LA Unified, then put in a ticket and we will chase it down for you.
Claudia has a similar issue. Says 67. I have now 5 fatal errors, all EOs. So she did submit a ticket early this morning. So maybe by the time that we get the ticket, LAUSD would have fixed it. If it's not LAUSD, then we'll have the ticket and we'll work off of that. So we'll double check. Sean Walker gives us information on the behavioral interventionist. So that's at 314. Anne says, I'm getting a server error in application when I try to pull the 15.2 cohort outcome student details. It says, note, if a nonce is found, it will be evaluated. I feel pretty close to a nonce right now.
What is a nonce? That's new.
Not seen that one.
I have not, but I haven't ran 15.1 or 2 today, so I'll try that now, Ian.
I've run it a couple of times. It's working okay in 3 times I ran it, so might have to check for.
Eric, question 1. I certified last week, and when I ran the end of year 2 reports 5.1, my numbers do not match my 5.3 report. On the screen that you shared at the beginning of the presentation, it states the problem has been resolved, closed. This is happening on the LEA approved and the revised uncertified snapshots. Revision create date is 9/11. CDD run completion date is 9/12. What should I do? Should I disapprove and run the risk of getting more errors and not certifying on time? When is time to send the LEA to the dashboard, feds, etc.? What numbers will they get? I honestly do not trust the data, and many districts may be affected if the number of students is not counted correctly.
So Eric, what I shared at the beginning are the fixes that are going in tomorrow around noontime. So what will happen is those fixes will go in and you'll need to wait for a new revision sometime on Wednesday to check and make sure that it's after 1 or 2 p.m. on Tuesday, the revision date timestamp, and hopefully 5.1 and 5.3 all synced up now. Oh, but wait, can we go back? He did say he certified last week. So if you want those corrections assume you looked at your revised and certified tomorrow or Wednesday and it looks okay, you would need to disapprove and then approve the newer revisions that have better data.
Laura's following up and saying that she's going to send in a ticket. Thanks, Brandy. Tanya from Ukaipa says, I have not received a new revision since September 8th. Can you manually push a new revision? I appreciate your help.
Oh, I have information on that, where sometimes the developers make changes on the back end that don't always get communicated back down to the service desk. And Alex is nodding her head because we experienced this. And so we're kind of learning in real time. And so what we learned, I think on Friday, was that they have everybody set to run automatically within 24 hours, just automatically, it just kicks off. However, they're prioritizing LEAs that are posting data. So if you haven't posted, which Elitania, you hadn't posted anything up until today. I saw you posted it today, but on the 8th was the last time you posted anything. You were getting bumped in the priority because it was giving precedence to the folks that are making current changes to 21-22 data. So now that you've posted data, assuming it was 21-22 data, you should be getting a revision tonight, if that makes sense.
And remember to, because you do have some of your revisions already approved, that you have to change and look at your revised uncertified revision status. So
it's a good point, Martha. I did check and she doesn't have any in review or approved. So she should see the updates right on the main screen.
But when it does, you may think, ah, it's still not there. Angela led me astray.
I lied to her.
Okay, Belinda says, I have about 700 students who need to have their E155 exit codes from 21-22 changed because they transferred or left the district. What's the best process to remove those E155s en masse and upload the revised exit code?
It would be just to replace.
Yeah, and just in a new SCNR with the updated exits, because that's not a primary field, it should just update the exit. Shelley from Fallbrook says, good afternoon. I haven't had a revision for end of year 3 since September 10th at noon. Should we submit a ticket to get a new revision?
The same thing as Elitania, that Fallbrook hadn't made any changes, and so they must have been getting bumped out of the queue by other folks. So if you have posted today, which it looks like you have, then you can expect a revision tonight.
And Ethan says, regarding current comments, note that Dataquest cohort A through G completion rate is not the same as A through G cohort completion rates from CALPADS reports, at least not as applied to AB 130. Randy helped me look into this in January, and our conclusion was use the DQ rate, not the CALPADS rate. At 3:27 timestamp, Angela posted the hours of operation for CALPADS. Elsa says, can I get a copy of the grads A through G comparison spreadsheet from Eastside?
You run 21-22 cohort and then compare it to 20-21 cohort, Elsa, that should be get you what you want. So you can just kind of see the eyeball to see how far off you are compared to last year.
Yes. Wow, thank you. Nancy, question 1. Last Wednesday in the Q&A, a new bug was identified whereby an update said it posted successfully, but when the LEA opened the record, it had reverted back to the uncorrected data. Was this issue fixed? I don't see it on the known issues list. So I want to make sure that we're talking about the same thing, because it's a little deceiving sometimes when you make an update in like student details, for example, it'll say successful, but really what it means is it successfully created a job record for you. And then once you go to the job ID, it'll show you whether or not it posted or if it got rejected. So sometimes it says successful, you go to the job and the job will be rejected because there was a validation that triggered. And so that's why it won't post. You won't see the data that you changed posted. I don't know if that's what we're talking about. So let me know, Nancy. Chris, question 1. If we certified with a 5.1 that does not match the 5.3, should we recertify after the issue is fixed?
What I would do is after the release goes in, look at that certified report, because sometimes the fix, you don't have to decertify, that the fix just automatically is in the data, because your underlying data is there. The reports just have to refresh with the new logic. So check what your reports look like, the certified reports look like after the fix goes in. And if they're still not matching, then wait for a revised uncertified and see if you get better results on a more recent revised uncertified report, snapshot report.
Yadira says, thank you, Brandy. Sean Walker, question 1. Our LEA has a student with an alias name that is newly enrolled for the 22-23 school year. The student was previously enrolled in another LEA. However, they submitted the alias name and not the legal name for the student in CALPADS when initially requesting the SSID. Completely different last and first names. Internally created a MID, since we did not see the legal name in our search. Are we responsible for merging the record as a MID since the information does not match? How best would we correct? Yes, we have a verified legal name.
You could try to use the resolve mid not on report, right? Because it's not going to detect the mid since the demographics don't match. And that should work, although I've seen it create some funny errors sometimes. But if it does work, it'll keep your information, assuming your SIMP is this most recent. And yes, you would be responsible for doing that work, assuming that you have the most current enrollment. If it doesn't work, you could kind of trick the system, change your legal name to match the alias of what the other LEA submitted, and then it'll show up on the mid results screen. You could merge them, and then you'll have ownership, and you could go back and correct the legal name.
Eugenie says, did they mention an ETA on the ticketing system coming back?
I wish, yeah, this is every minute that goes by, we're getting further and further behind. So in fact, I heard that they had to reach out to their vendor. CD's talking to the ticketing vendor. Something bad happened. I don't know what it is, but bad week for that to happen.
Debbie says, I also have a student that needs to test, but I cannot get any new SSID numbers. I understand that others are still working on 21-22 end of year, but I have put in a ticket, then the ticket was closed before it was resolved, then put in another ticket today, referencing the last ticket number. Are we working in these problems yet?
Yeah, you should be able to get SSIDs, Debbie. So I'm curious what your problem is. If you didn't include your job ID, when the ticket system comes back up, you should get the automated reply that finally says, hey, we got you. Reply back to that with the job ID so that we can do a little further analysis on what happened when you made the request. It should have issued you an SSID.
At the 3:37 timestamp, Brandy posted the quarterly meeting dates. Carol, question 1. Additional info, just FYI, no answer needed. I thought only the ODS 8.1 could be set for the current future dates, where the extract snapshots are for census date. Not helpful for checking my SIS has the same data as CALPADS. I'll try pulling for only a couple schools at a time. Thanks for your help. Thank you.
Isn't there a 8.1 in EOY and it's specified as EOY? And so then it captures all of the data from July 1 through June 30th? Something to think
for
about,
the current year, right?
She's saying, Martha, that she wants
okay.
for the current future data.
Got it.
She's moved on from EOI.
Good for you.
Yeah. Rocio from Torrance, question 1 says, a preschool age student was re-enrolled in our SIS and CALPADS for the 22-23 school year. Our special ed department just notified us that the student is attending a private school and parents requested they exit the student from special education. Should we exit the student as of today, even if he didn't receive any services? Our SPED department would also like to know how they should exit him from SACE. Would it be for this school year 22-23 or 21-22?
So students had an active IEP. Joe, are you on?
Yeah, I'm here. Oh, is this the preschool age student that was enrolled 22-23 school year, correct? And the special education department just notified us that the student is attending a private school and parent requested they exit the student from special education. Should we exit the student as of today, even if he didn't receive any services? This should be a exit 78, which is parent withdrawal for SPED exit. CALPADS Flash 193 would also give you some guidance in regards to how to exit the student and from transferring from an IEP to an ISP.
You keep the data in CALPADS, you just update it with an exit?
Correct.
Chris is talking with Eric and is following up saying her 15.2 report is working now. No more nons. Then Lori's following up with Gary on the full replacement. Melinda says, thanks. Lily is saying, Brandy, I sent you a direct message when you get a chance.
Alex, could I, Lori, would you put in a ticket and assign it, put my name on it? Because I want to send that up to the dev team to let them know if the problem is still occurring.
It says she responded, Gary, so maybe you should be able to find her customer responded ticket.
Okay, I'll look for it.
Serena, question 1 says, are there any known issues with uploading 22-23 SPRG for error gurfi? I tried uploading one today and got it rejected. Oddly, the students I've looked at that we own looked in my SIS. They don't even have a program that the error list is showing. I haven't come across that yet. That would be a ticket candidate with the job ID, and then we can take a look and figure out. The problem is though, like if the file has the information there and you don't see it in your SIS, then maybe that's going to be a question for your SIS support. But we can take a look if you give us the job ID.
I did pull it up, Alex,
Oh.
and she's got something going on with the lip error. Oh, never mind. It's reading it backwards. But oh yeah, the lip started before her enrollment start date. Lip is participating, right?
I thought it was eligible.
Is it eligible?
Because we allow them to use the start date of like when they started EL services, which could be before.
Maybe
Yeah.
the school of attendance doesn't match.
Yeah, the start and end date are before her enrollment start and end date.
Serena, double check.
Oh no, that's what it was. It's you had some summer enrollments. Check your Silver Mountain High. The exit date on the program record is after the exit date in the enrollment. So you might want to make sure those sync up.
All right, Eric's continuation of question 1 says, if the fix for report 5.1 will be implemented tomorrow and I have to wait for Wednesday's revision, I might be able to decertify and certify with the new numbers, but you stated that revisions are being prioritized for LEAs submitting 21-22 files. I feel that I will not get another revision before the deadline. Should I go into a student record, make a change on a date, and change it back so a new revision can be triggered with a higher priority?
Probably a really good idea. I don't know that we're going to automatically get to everybody like we were before.
Do you think, Angela, we can have them change that practice just because we want everybody to get a new revision?
It seems that makes sense to me, Martha.
So we'll try and do that.
Do they have to change the data, or can't they just
gonna say.
repost? They can just repost something without having to change anything?
You don't have to change anything. If you open an OM record and just click edit and then post, that automatically will put you back in the queue.
Debbie's saying, I need to work through this with someone over the phone, try to work through this with another CALPADS clerk, and we were still having trouble. It's like my job's going to cyberspace. Oh, the SSIDs. Okay. So we'll take a look at once we can access the tickets. Let's see, it is 4 o'clock. I think we're down to just question 2s. But at the 3:59 timestamp, Paula Mishima posted, LEAs must document the reason for not being able to test the student within the 30 days. Secondly, they must begin providing EL programs and services on day 30 until the initial LPAC or initial alternate LPAC is administered and official results are produced. They must do their best to get the majority of students tested within 30 days and test those as soon as possible, those past 30 days. As for consequences, if they don't get it done by October 5th, CBEDs, then they won't be counted for LCFF, etc. I don't believe that this is being delayed, but again, I haven't heard anything as of yet.
Yeah, I just directly cut and paste our program person's response, so you can just dismiss that last sentence. Basically, in the past, we allowed past 30 days because of the fires and stuff, but there's nothing like that happening this year. So it's still 30 days, and we don't see that changing.
Thank you. So circling back to question 2s and above, Laura at 3 p.m. says, is there a way to report 2 teachers as primary for 1 class if the multi-teacher is marked? Yes, I don't think that we have a designation for primary and secondary in CALPADS, right? It's just SSID 1 and SSID 2, or sorry, not SSID, but SEED.
Right. So, and just an FYI, CalSAF, for purposes of monitoring, did make amendments to their logic so that now if you're reporting teachers, you know, last year what would end up happening is if you reported co-teaching situations or team teaching, they would evaluate each of those assignments separately. And so oftentimes the teacher that may not have had the appropriate credential would come back as misassigned, or an exception would be generated, right? But this year, they're actually using logic to look at those teachers together. And as long as one of the teachers is appropriately assigned, then it should not generate an exception.
Okay, question 2 from Syria at 3 says, will 22-23 COVID attendance be tracked and collected?
No, we're not tracking whether or not an absence was COVID related. This is a local decision, and you need to confer with your local legal counsel as to whether or not this is appropriate.
Question 2 from Susan at 3:02 says, my end dates for my SDNR end of year are incorrect. Is the best way to fix this to reload the end of year SDNR with the correct date? Yes. It's not a primary key, and so it should just replace it with your new SDNR file. And then we go on to 3:07. And that's Micah. Okay, question 2. Pre-K kids that are receiving speech services only. Do we need to create a pre-K section and have the kids enrolled in that section? Can a school enrollment be enough? School enrollment is enough for purposes of, I think, fall 2 and end of year. We don't report classes for preschools.
No courses. Right, but the reason it's important to capture enrollments for those is for program, right? So they can be directly certified, they're eligible for free and reduced price lunch, or they're homeless, right? That's the other big one. Or even migrant services, ages 3 to 21 are eligible.
At 3:13, we have Kevin from Santa Clara, COE. Question 2, given the new bug fixes for end of year 1 and 2, should we decertify and recertify? So I think the consensus there was look at your certified reports and double check. Sometimes your certified reports will get refreshed and you don't need to decertify and recertify. However, if the revised uncertified versions have more accurate data, then at that point, yes, you would have to, or it would be to your benefit to decertify and recertify. 3:15, Tara. Last year, there was talk about creating a TOSA assignment, but I don't see that available in the valid code combos.
TOSA is going to be there. It's just not updated in the documentation yet. I mean, we are adding it. Just the documentation hasn't been posted yet.
Okay. And the last one is at 3:59. And that was from Yvette. Says an LEA held an IEP with no enrollment. IEP is posted on CALPADS and now encountering a gurfi when uploading the PSTS. What should they do? Enroll for 1 day or DNR the PSTS? IEP date is June 2021, no enrollment for 2021 school year. So if there was no enrollment for 2021,
Say
then,
DNR.
yeah, then no PSTS can be submitted.
It's DNR, right? In their system, they just DNR the PSTS.
And with that, we are done. Thank you so much for everyone that helped out today. We'll see you all Wednesday. That'll be the end of year for everyone.